And we're back. I'm Leisa Holland-Nelson, co-host of Culture Club HTX, here with
the person who's holding her laugh in, per usual, because you always say something funny just before we come back in. Shavonnah Schreiber, the other half of Culture Club HTX.
And we have an incredible guest with us this segment, Henry Richardson, the true love of my life, which the whole world knows. No, it isn't.
Oh, God.
It wasn't Bob Berman either. It's been Henry.
Bob,
forever.
Do you hear this?
Yes, he hears it. He knew all about it. Trust me. But we're going to get to Henry in just a minute and talk about all the incredible things that he does. But this is the fashion segment, which everyone considers my favorite. But for this fabulous month of June, which was National Fitness Month, we don't really know if that's true, but we did make it up. And we have celebrated it the entire month. And I am so thrilled to close National Fitness Month with Henry Richardson. But first, we're going to talk about one thing, and that's working out kind of on the cheap.
Well,
I mean, it's kind of what we're talking about. You know, easy spaces, so you'll do it.
Well, here's the thing. If you own any kind of gym or studio, probably, except for Define, people don't go. They cook up these reasons, or life happens and you can't go, so then people aren't active. And I think, I am a lover of the outdoors, and so I'm always outdoors early in the morning, in the summertime, or late at night. But I want to talk about some outdoor options to go walk, workout, etc. in Houston. So, for example, Buffalo Bayou. Did you know not only do they have the the Sandy Reed Trail for cycling, rollerblading, etc. They also have bars for all kinds of calisthenics. I mean, there are all kinds of things that are free.
Herman Park does too. I don't know if Memorial Park has that because I haven't walked.
They
Memorial
do.
Park.
They do. That's what that's my place. They do. And then also at Discovery Green, they have a free fitness in the park program. They do yoga, they do HIIT workouts, and Tai Chi. It's free.
I mean, and so does the Glacelle.
Exactly.
There's yoga at the Glacelle every Saturday morning.
Exactly.
You know, so there are all kinds of options. You can just,
So my point is, as we close out National Fitness Month, is don't be lazy. Move your body. You don't have to, be a bodybuilder. You don't have to pay an expensive membership, but it is a requirement, if you listen to us, that you move your body, you get some physical activity, and there's no excuse.
Otherwise, guess what happens?
What, you die?
You can't move your body.
Oh, okay.
All right. And that is just not anything anyone wants.
No,
however, here's what I want. I want to talk to my favorite guy in the world, Henry Richardson, who is a significant figure in Houston's fitness industry, known for founding Define Body and Mind, which I get to say I was his first customer, waiting at the door when it opened. However, let me continue. It's an incredible fitness concept. It's kind of been franchised all over. And a few years ago, he kind of got, I'm not even sure. It wasn't his conscience raised, but somehow or another, he decides to go get all these advanced degrees. It wasn't happiness, but it was close, that you were getting your advanced degrees. And what do you call it?
The Master's in Applied Positive Psychology.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So all of this added all kinds of incredible stuff to the Define program.
That's right.
A lot of emotional opportunities for those of us who are Define people. And then most recently, Henry has built a Define living concept, which we're going to let him describe to us. But it's just extraordinary, and it's in one of the biggest upcoming neighborhoods and streets going on in Houston right now. And it's really a place you can live the Define life. I mean, you can. So, Henry, welcome, and talk to us about holistic wellness living environments.
Amazing. It is so good to be here and be with you both.
Thank you.
It's my honest favorite topic to talk about is
so
well-being,
excited.
Health, happiness, and Houston, right? Because there's so many opportunities here in Houston, as we were just describing.
Right.
And I have to say this before we move to the Define Living concept, because the importance of if you don't use it, you lose it mindset.
Amen.
And that goes for everything in life. So movement, finding how to make sure that, your mental game, as we were just listening to, is on. And all of that can be done in an environment that is going to be supportive, because the consistency aspect is what makes it really matter.
Is true.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing it and you can read and know all about it, but if you're not actually applying it into your life, then what's the benefit of it? So I don't know, it was about 2016, 17 timeframe, I was thinking every single step of life is relevant, and something was being called for me to say, we're working with people in their fitness, and we are helping with mental health and well-being, but we're really not diving into some of the key factors.
Yes.
So when you look at like social connection, when you look at people's positive emotions, when you look at their sense of connections in their relationships, whether it's personal relationships or workplace relationships, how can you focus on increasing that sense of well-being? Now, I come from an athletic background. And so for me, whenever I think of how can I do something, it's kind of, there's one way of doing it and it's all in, all in. But that's not always the best way to approach things.
Right.
So we have to also factor in the sense of balance. And so to me, this concept of defined living is centered around how can we embrace and immerse people into a living environment that is actually going to be something that's good for them. So we offer fitness classes, cooking classes, meditation classes, we offer workshops, and we do all sorts of fun things to help increase our resident well-being.
So describe your residence. Is it a typical, I mean, I'm just serious. Like, is there a population? Should I be a millennial to live there? I mean,
That's such a good point, because we are seeing it really go across all generations.
Interesting.
But I will say that the younger population are what we call our, our young professionals. They are really gravitating towards
We've
this.
aged out, Leisa. It's okay.
However, we do have our super parents and we do have our empty nesters. And they are also very involved.
Yeah.
It just is interesting to see as we are getting more into this, like who is falling into which categories of like what their interests are. But just like running a studio, I mean, I ran Defined Body and Mind for over 15 years, focused on those same exact 3 demographics and thinking about, what are the timeframes of classes that work well for this particular audience? What are the types of classes that work well for this particular audience? And the key to it is, again, meeting people where they are so that they don't feel intimidated about taking that next step. Because if they do feel intimidated, then their total inspiration and motivation dies. So we have to be a little bit of a hand-holding process. And I love that about Defined Living, because we can literally see them in the hallway and not have to say a word. And they'll be like, I'll see you tonight, or I'll see you in the morning. And I can't wait for the workshop this weekend. And we have like an infrared sauna and a cold plunge. So people get to see all sorts of different aspects of health and well-being. It's so much fun.
I love that. One of the questions that I've been thinking about is, you mentioned you were an athlete. You were a diver, right?
I was, yeah. I was a diver for, only 12 years. But
Only
it seems like it was like
0 years.
It seems like it was the most formative years of my life, though.
So we just talked earlier with our other guest, Patty Dell, about this sort of idea of corporate athleticism. And so for you as an athlete, a diver, what did you take from that experience, those 12 years, that you brought into your entrepreneurial pursuits?
Being an athlete is truly the most impactful thing for someone, because you have to learn how to take feedback from a coach. You have to learn discipline and time management. But I think the most important thing that it taught me was goal setting. And I say that only because I am realizing I have a 13-year-old son right now. And it wasn't until he really got into tennis recently that I feel like he started to understand what that meant. Because it's so ingrained in me that I think of a goal, I plan for the goal, I see how the end result will be. And I didn't realize just that is such a unique experience as being an athlete.
Right. And it's a practice. I mean, you talk about, as a avid meditator myself, it's a practice. And it's like, it's not like a point that you stop, right?
That's it.
So the same thing with goal setting, I think.
And it's funny because being an athlete too, like going back to that being all in, there's this concept in positive psychology called PERMA. And it's the way you measure your well-being. It stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And that last letter, A, accomplishment, was basically all I was focused on as an athlete.
Interesting.
But that is actually part of the reason why I had to start getting into yoga and Pilates, because I broke my spine. I broke my spine as a diver because, it wasn't centered around all the other concepts of how to be balanced.
Right.
And I had a friend say this, which was really funny, because PERMA, the A part, I was so focused on A, they said, well, you kind of sounded like a, fill in the blanks.
That's real.
Don't be one of those. Yeah, and I don't want to be one of those. But actually, now that I have this concept of understanding, well, if you're enjoying the process, that's the difference.
Yes.
And that's what is so important for all of us, even including going back to that concept of exercise. Find something you enjoy.
Make it fun.
Make it fun.
Like spin for Leisa.
Yeah.
Like spin for me, which everybody knows I'm a spin addict.
I love it.
And I've been a spin addict for really a long time. It's like insane. But usually
I
I
mean-
get over stuff, but I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love? The endorphins, the
music.
detoxification, the
Well,
the
now
community.
there's so much upper body with it, which,
That's right, the
the
balance.
best part.
Yeah.
The fact that you get to do both. But I want to go back to your son for a moment, because I think he said something just incredible. And of course, I think I've known him since he was an infant,
Yes, you have.
pretty much. And it's extraordinary for me to see how he's transformed. And I think athleticism, playing tennis is a big part of it. I mean, he is just in incredible shape, proud of himself. He looks great.
Thank you. Yeah.
There's nothing he can't do, and he knows it.
I love that.
I mean, he's kind of at the 13-year-old stage.
Confidence.
But
We love it.
confident.
Yeah.
He's really confident. Not that he ever wasn't,
No,
but he really is comfortable in
Thank
his
you.
confidence.
I mean,
and
first
I think
off,
that
thank you.
matters.
Yeah, watching him develop over the past few years, we think of the teenage years as being these like terrifying years.
Awkward and whatever.
But the research actually shows that from ages 0 to 5, your brain changes the same amount as your brain changes from 13 to 18. And so instead of thinking of it as like something to be fearful of, think of it as an opportunity to really create the kind of human being you want to be in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously as a parent, that's what we're thinking about, is how can we help to influence him? And being an athlete, getting into sports, and especially a sport like tennis where it is so mentally driven,
Oh my gosh, I know.
it's been one of the most powerful things that we've seen for him. And I relate to that from being a diver, since it's more of an individual sport.
Mhm.
It just means we have to also make sure that socially, because he's also an only child, but
I
socially,
am too.
okay, amazing. So, okay, I
Don't
love
say anything
this.
bad about
No,
my
that's,
children.
I mean, I have my
So
only
is my daughter.
child.
See?
No
Oh my
problem
gosh.
socially.
None.
I love it. My case is closed.
Yeah, except
Yeah.
that mine does need her own time and space.
Well, I'm
I
just
think
thinking
that
about him. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
because I do too. I'm very
Yeah.
introverted in that sense, but
Yeah.
very extroverted as well. But I feel as if watching him change through this process of tennis, it's making me relive my moments as an athlete and reminding myself what that process was like, and also giving guidance and direction in ways that I don't know if I always did have, or I wasn't able to communicate.
That's
So-
awesome. So, final question, and then we want you to talk about where people can find out more about Defined Living. So, what's next?
Yeah.
What are the aspirations for Defined Living for you? What's
Talk
on the
about your
horizon?
Yeah, I
other
love
ways.
this. Well, it's fun. I will. Yeah, I'll talk about that
A
too.
little.
So I love the fact that Define has been such a huge part of my life. If I think about being a diver, then becoming a school teacher, and then becoming a teacher of health and well-being, and then going back to school, I feel like every single thing has been a stepping stone for me.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the focus of Define Living is to say, how can we make the biggest and most powerful impact on our residents in a variety of different ways? And so I want to open up a variety of different communities as well. It's so much fun and it's so meaningful to be involved in the health and well-being side, but also professionally to be able to say, like, this is utilizing my other
Yes.
degrees that I have, so that it's like, okay, yeah, it's all coming together now. So that stepping stone approach. So my goal is to definitely build more Defined Living communities in Houston and beyond. And Leisa, you're making me mention this, but
Yes.
we have started doing a variety of retreats in Mexico as well. And it's this tiny little town that no one has ever heard of called Tepoztlan.
Well, don't
Mexico.
say it, because then people are going to know and they're going to go. And
I
they're
have
gonna
to say it, but
tiny.
yeah, you'll have to visit us first.
Okay.
But it is the most like pure, beautiful, in the mountains, fresh air, highs of 74,
Oh.
lows of 58. It's so amazing. It really is lovely. But we do a variety of health and well-being retreats, and it actually has a lot of cultural and
Oh, this is amazing.
roots in history that are just making it so special as well. So
So, Culture Club HTX live remote from
Tepoztlan.
Mexico.
That's right.
See?
Yes, exactly.
We're on the way.
We're
Yeah.
on the way. Well, okay. Now, how can people find out more about you and Defined Living, and then any other projects that you're up to? Where shall they go?
Yeah, I think social media is the best at this point. To go to Define Living Well on social media. You could also go to defineliving.com as our website. And my personal Instagram is define.henry. Can't get away from define, And I have to say this real quickly, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The word define is so meaningful because I actually had a professor. It was during a recession timeframe after the kind of collapse of the real estate market, who said, don't take a job just because it's available. do something that will define your role in this world. And I was like, that's what I'm going to call my store. I'm going to call it Define. And I cut my next class, which is very unlike me, but I went and filed my DBA to get the name and get it done. And it literally started just to kind of come about from there. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for being here. Now I feel like, Leisa, how are we defining our impact on the world? What are we going to do? I feel motivated and inspired.
I do too. Let's talk.
Let's talk. Maybe we'll do a show.
You think?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. But
maybe we'll take our show on the road.
Maybe, but I do know that we have to take a break.
Uh-oh.
So,
we'll be back.